As the US pushes for peace talks with Russia, tensions continue to rise on the Ukrainian front lines. Russian aggression has been rising in the Eastern Front. Russian forces captured one more settlement in Ukraine's Donetsk region. The Russian Ministry of Defense claims its troops seized the Berezivka settlement in Ukraine's Donetsk. On the same day, Ukraine said it repelled Russian attacks in multiple directions. US President Donald Trump's special envoy for Ukraine and Russia, Keith Kellogg, has suggested that Russia will have to make territorial concessions during peace talks with Ukraine. He says the US will try to break Russia's alliances with North Korea, Iran and China that have been deepened after Russia was hit with Western sanctions related to the war in Ukraine.
Right now, what we're going to do is try to break this alliance that he currently has. He's got an alliance around with North Korea that wasn't there before. He's got an alliance with Iran that wasn't there before. He's got an alliance with China that wasn't there before, meaning 4 years ago before.
Europe, on the other hand, is scrambling to respond to Trump. The US president announced that negotiations will begin immediately on ending the war following a phone call with Putin without taking European allies and Kyiv into confidence. After Trump's shocker, what has deepened the sense of betrayal is the latest statement of US's Ukraine envoy, Kellogg, where he has ruled out Europe getting a seat at the table for Ukraine peace talks. This comes after Washington sent a questionnaire to European capitals to ask what they could contribute to security guarantees for Kyiv.
Can you assure this audience that Ukrainians will be at the table and Europeans will be at the table?
Oh, well, you just changed the whole dynamic. Victor, thanks for having us today. I appreciate it. The answer to that last question, just as you framed it, the answer is no. The answer to the earlier part of that question is yes. Of course the Ukrainians are going to be at the table. I mean, it would be foolish to say they wouldn't. But when you say at the table, you have to define it. One of the things I'm driving towards is we've had a good, remember this war has been going on now, we're heading into the third year. One of the things we haven't really gotten to are specifics.
European leaders are set to hold an emergency meeting in Paris on Monday amid contradictory statements from the White House that have left them isolated. French President Emmanuel Macron will host envoys from key European countries in Paris. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer will also join the crisis summit. The focus of the meeting will be to discuss European security as the Ukraine war nears its third anniversary. The move comes even as the new US administration has also warned its NATO allies that Washington will no longer be primarily focused on the continent's security. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte has called on European countries to make concrete proposals rather than complain about being excluded from potential talks on Ukraine.
And to the European allies again, make sure that the training is there, the staff is there, the military gear, but also come up with the plans, create the facts, engage in the debate. The Europeans can do that. It has been done before.
Speaking about the phone call between Trump and Putin, Kremlin says from now on Russia and the US will speak about peace and not war. Russia believes the Western sanctions will not prevent Russia-US talks, as it will be lifted as quickly as they are imposed.
Это мощный сигнал о том, что теперь будем пытаться решать проблемы посредством диалога. И теперь будем говорить о мире, а не о войне. Ведь что было с предыдущей администрацией? Никакого диалога, война до конца. Это была официальная позиция предыдущей администрации. Судя по заявлениям президента Трампа, решаем проблемы через диалог. Никакой войны, нужен мир. Такая позиция, по идее, любому здравомыслящему человеку или государству должна импонировать больше.
Ben Aries is the founder and editor-in-chief of BNE IntelliNews and also former Moscow bureau chief for the Daily Telegraph. He is now joining us live from Berlin. Welcome to the program, sir. President Trump and his team have indicated plans to isolate or exclude Europe from the Russia-Ukraine peace talks. Is that a good idea, or what do you think about it?
Well, this is exactly what everyone was afraid of, that Trump would come in and, like a bull in the china shop, he would just cut a deal on the basis of some ideas that he has. He's known as a transactionalist. He's a deal maker. And that he would come in and just do some deal. He clearly wants to get out of this war. America has been reducing its military aid and its funding to Ukraine already for more than a year. And that Trump wants to see the back of this. And so he'll do some deal where it will end. And so from the Ukrainians' point of view, this is a disaster. They were hoping for a united front by the allies, the US, the European Union together, to put maximum pressure on Putin when they went into the talks so that he would be able to do this deal from a position of strength. And it looks like they're going to play no role in it at all. And the Europeans have been excluded, and they've just been told by the White House that they have to accept whatever terms Trump comes up with. And that includes giving Ukraine security guarantees, that includes bearing the bulk of the financial cost and the military support that Ukraine will need in order to underwrite its security going forward. So I think everybody in Europe is in shock. I think the Ukrainians are in shock. Zelensky said in Munich at the weekend that they will not adhere to a deal where they do not participate in the negotiation. And from what we've seen the last 2 days, all the US officials commenting at Munich, it looks like that everybody's going to be excluded. It's going to be a one-to-one deal between Putin and Trump.
Well, U.S. Special Envoy Keith Kellogg has suggested that Russia will have to make territorial concessions during peace talks with Ukraine. And while that happens, the U.S. will try to break Russia's alliances with North Korea, Iran and China. Your reaction?
Well, good luck with that. I mean, land swaps are going to be a key part of this. That Putin is adamant, and Peskov, his press secretary, said earlier last week that there is no land swaps on the cards, in so much as that they intend to hang on to the Kursk region, which the Ukrainians invaded. However, I think in reality that they'd be prepared to swap that for some territories, but the bulk of the territories, and nearly 20% of Ukraine is under occupation, are going to stay in Russia's hands. And the American side, Rubio, Kellogg, all of them have made it clear that Ukraine cannot expect to get back any of the territories. Maybe a little concessions. The Kremlin said in leaked remarks last month, or at the end of last year, that there was a little wiggle room, but we're not talking about much. The big things like the land bridge between the Russian border and Crimea itself, and the 4 regions that Russia annexed last 2 years ago, those will remain in Russian hands, and Ukraine is unable to get them back because it doesn't have the military firepower to do that.
Mr. Ben Aris, will have to leave it there. Thank you very much for your time and for talking to us today.